Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being with us today. It's good to be back in the City Council chambers to begin having council meetings under more or less regular order again. Today we adopted a new process. We took callers as well as public speakers who came here to the council meeting to speak. We took 122 callers. We took an hour and 45 minutes of public comment, and we're going to continue to work to try to find ways to give people an opportunity to provide more input, more opportunity to express their anger at the situation that the City Council is facing right now, which is an anger that I think every member of the City Council shares. We're in a position right now, because of the action of 3 members, that the Council is really struggling to move forward to function in a normal way. And the continuing refusal by Mr. De León to resign from his position creates immense challenges over the next potentially many months that we will have to deal with. And so I want to reiterate again, my call, and I think those of all of my members, that the best thing for the city to move forward and to begin to heal, the best thing for the constituents of the 14th District, the best thing for the people of Los Angeles is for him to resign so that we can set a special election and begin the healing process that this city so desperately needs. But in the meantime, the City Council will meet. The City Council will continue to do the work that we need to do, because there is no other course forward. Today, we set the special election, for example, in Council District 6 that was necessitated by Councilmember Martinez's resignation. If we were not meeting, the people of the 6th Council District would be disenfranchised. 250,000 people would be without representation, and that would not change if the Council did not meet. So it is absolutely imperative that this Council meets, and we will do whatever we need to do to ensure that we're able to continue to do that. Of course, another essential and important and very critical thing that we had to do today was elect my dear friend and longtime colleague, Curran Price, to be the Council's next President Pro Tem. And I'm so delighted that at this very difficult time, where the city so desperately needs to bring communities together, that Curran Price was willing to step up and take on this leadership role, which is always a challenge, and especially during these times. But I know from having been in his district, from having talked to the voters and the people of his district, I know that Curran Price has many, many years of respect and admiration within his district for his ability to bring communities together. He represents a district which is predominantly Latino, and he has been able to bring together people across racial divisions, and I hope that he'll bring that. I hope and I know that he'll bring that same kind of leadership to the entire city of Los Angeles. So I want to give a moment to my friend, Council President Pro Tem Curran Price.
Thank you, Paul. First of all, I'm just standing shoulder to shoulder with our president. He speaks for the council. I think he certainly has captured the concern, the spirit of folks on the council and around our city. We want to get back to some sort of normalcy. We want to get back to being productive and responsive. But that starts with the resignations, and so we are awaiting that. But in the meantime, council business does go forward, and so I'm happy to be part of a leadership team, a collaborative leadership team that's going to be addressing the needs, issues, and concerns that have been expressed, but also following through on efforts to be more transparent as we do that. And so proud to be part of the team, proud to be part of a city council that's committed to moving forward and making the kinds of changes that are going to be important for our families and our kids. Thank you. Yes.
Beyond the politician side of you as a person, as you were giving your speech, Perhaps the only people that could hear you were the ones who were watching the live stream. In the chambers, we couldn't hear a word. You were shouted down, people still calling the council racist, and yet you were elected unanimously. What do you feel about that?
Well, I think it just underscores the frustration that people are feeling at this moment, at this time. I certainly have a history, a track record of working together, of collaborating. It's been evidenced in my previous elections and re-elections. It's been a part of my DNA, working together, collaborating, pulling folks together, and so we just got to do more of that. But I understand the pain, I understand the frustration that people are feeling. I'm proud that the President adapted some technology today to help us get through that in a way that we haven't done before, and hopefully we'll be able to continue communicating until this is resolved.
Mr. Krekorian, I have a question now. Univision 34. How long can a councilman be absent from city chambers and not cast a vote and not be present in committees until something is done? Or you're saying, oh, we're voting for a special election for Mayor Martinez because they need representation. District 14 doesn't have representation. District 1 doesn't have representation. So how long for a council member to show up and say something like Cedillo and León?
So it's an excellent question. And let me say first that as of now, the City Council has taken every legal option available to us under the city charter to encourage and to demand the resignation of Mr. De León and Mr. Cedillo. We have eliminated all of their committee participation. There will be a censure motion that will be heard shortly, which is, I think, in most people's memory, it's the first time that there has been a censure motion heard against a council member. So we've taken literally every legal step. Now, your question is, how long can the absences continue? And that's something that I'm going to want the city attorney to advise us about. There is a charter provision that provides that if a council member is not performing the duties of a council member for a certain amount of time, then the council can act to remove that council member. But I want to make sure that the council has the full advice of the city attorney as to what constitutes a failure to fulfill the duties of a council member, because it's a challenging question. You certainly don't want a situation where a majority of the council who disagrees with a council member says, well, he or she's not performing their duties. And so there has to be a clear definition of what that means, and we're going to look to the city attorney to be able to advise us on that. But it's one thing is clear. Right now, the people of the 14th District are not able to get the representation that they deserve. And the simple solution to that is to set a special election. In the case of the first council district, Mr. Cedillo, if he were to resign today, we have a council member elect. We will swear her in on the same day. So it'll be seamless. And if he chooses to continue if he chooses to decline to resign, then in December, that our council member elect Hernandez will be sworn in. So, but in the case of Mr. De León, he has 2 more years on his term.
For Cedillo, you're just accepting the fact that he's in a place of reflection, and December 11th is going to be just waiting it out for you?
Listen, I have had that difficult conversation with Mr. Cedillo, and I hope that he will also do what's best for the city and his district, and I believe for him as well, which is to resign so that we can move forward and swear in the council member elect. I hope that he will come to that same conclusion. My point is, in the case of the 14th District, because there's 2 years left on Mr. De León's term, that problem is aggravated that much more because of the length of time.
Yeah, did you guys discuss maybe using police to clear
I'm sorry,
the room?
wait,
Did you guys discuss the option of using police to clear the
Wait,
room?
I'm sorry, wait, one at a time. So,
Did you guys discuss the option of using police to clear the room?
no, I didn't think that was necessary. As long as we can hear and do our business, we're going to do our business.
The public can't hear.
It's a problem. It's a problem. And
Is it really a public meeting if that shouting is
so
going on?
I couldn't tell from where I was sitting whether we tried to increase the volume in the room so that you could hear what was on the mics, and if you were not able to do that, that's something that we'll have to revisit as well.
Councilmember, on the question of hearing, you guys had earpieces involved?
Yes.
Tell me about it. So were you able to participate and function as if this wasn't happening?
Yeah. My goal was to make sure that all council members could hear what was going on, so that we wouldn't have to progress to the next step of clearing the room or taking action against particular disruptors. I didn't want to see that happen, and if we can avoid that happening through other means, then we're going to exhaust those other means so that we can continue to do our work before there's any other any other steps that would need to be taken.
Were you able to hear?
Yeah, it was fine, and as I understand it, the people who are watching at home can hear fine as well. Dave.
Have you spoken to De León or Cedillo? Were you surprised by those remarks that De León made today?
Very surprised. I certainly was not invited to that meeting. I didn't know about the meeting, and for him to throw me under the bus like that, I think, is just a sign of desperation.
Have you spoken to them? You made an attempt
I've not spoken to them in 2 weeks when they were here. That was the last time I spoke to both of them.
And what was your advice then?
That they needed to step down, that it was untenable, their presence was untenable. They subsequently left the room, but they've yet to resign, and that's really what I think will start this process of healing.
What has Cedillo said to you about what he's thinking? What has he said about, he's not coming in, he's got 6 to 7 weeks left. What are you hearing from him? He's not saying anything other than...
Well, you had a more recent conversation.
Yeah. Look, it was not a pleasant conversation to have. Mr. Cedillo is somebody I've known for many, many years, and I told him why I thought that it was in the best interests not just of the city and the district, but actually of, in his best interests as well, to step aside, and he listened respectfully to what I had to say. He said, I've heard your points. I take it under advisement, and he's in a period of reflecting on that. And it really was not much more feedback than that.
How long was the conversation?
I don't know. 15 minutes, maybe something. Maybe not. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe just 10 minutes. I don't know.
When was this conversation? Was it in person? Was it over the phone?
It was over I last spoke to him over the phone sometime last week. I don't remember which day.
So is this the future of LA City Council meetings for the foreseeable future?
Well, the simplest solution would be, of course, if we had those resignations in hand, and then I think all of this goes away and people understand that we'll get back to work. And people will still disagree with a lot of things we do. That's fine. That's democracy. They're welcome to disagree. But I do think that it's really important that every voice have a chance to be heard. And when people are just trying to shout others down, then it actually interferes with other members of the public who want to participate in our meetings as well, who might agree or might not agree, but they have a right to speak. Just a second.
And that right to speak. And that right to speak was given to those who were in attendance.
Right.
They were given an opportunity to comment. As a matter of fact, their names were called, and they chose not to.
Yeah, but in terms of it continuing on, we'll do what we need to do to make the work of this city go forward. Period. And our job would be made much easier if we had those resignations. That's for sure. And so I want to again, really urge our colleagues, for the sake of this body, so that we can do the work of the people, to go ahead and tender their resignations, whether they think that that is fair to them or not. This body really needs that to happen so that we can move forward as effectively and efficiently as we can, and so that we have full representation in those districts.
Councilman, Section 12 of the LA City Council rules
outlines the criteria for removal of individuals who disrupt city council procedures. Have there been any conversations online or offline from council members about if and when at all you guys will start to enforce Section 12 again?
No, I don't think I could give a blanket answer to that. I think it's more a question of just trying to get through each meeting and figure out how do we do our work with the least possible disruption, not just the least possible disruption of us, but also the least possible disruption that we would have of the people who want to come in here and be heard. I'm going to say this again, and this I think goes to the question about is this the normal thing? Look, I understand, every member of the council understands why people feel very passionately right now that these resignations must happen. I very well understand that. And as well as I can, I'm not going to try to stifle people from expressing that passion. But at the same time, we do have meetings to run. So that's the balance that I'm going to continue to try to find. And soon Mr. Price will be in the chair, and we'll have to strike that balance as well. We're going to try to get through this in a way that respects people's right to speak, respects people's right to protest, respects, sort of the civil disobedience side of it. We respect all that, but we also still have to get our work done. So,
is it a unanimous decision to kind of pause enforcing Section 12?
I don't recall ever having even had a discussion about that. I think it was more, I don't think the council ever took an action on that. I think it really is in the discretion of the person who's in the chair.
And I think it's clear, we're trying to figure out how we can include people, not exclude people. So we want to go the extra mile to create an opportunity for folks to express themselves. And I think that's what we achieved today.
Why not launch a recall campaign? Why not actually do something?
Listen, that the people of the 14th District have that option before them, and that is the second best option to achieve a situation where they can get full representation again. The first best option is the resignation, and the reason that resignation is so important is because that can happen immediately. And we can set a special election immediately, as we did in Council District 6 today. The problem with a recall is that by the time you comply with all of the statutory time deadlines, by the time the petitions are circulated, by the time all this happens, I mean, this could conceivably stretch out for a year. And the people of that district don't deserve that. They deserve to have full representation right away.
At this point, if you have a member of the public who says, I want to go to City Hall and address my council members with my grievance, would you advise them to stay away? Would you advise them only do phone calls, don't go in person because you literally can't be heard or can't speak?
I'm so sorry, Dave. Just repeat.
Remember, it's required in this building. I'm asking, if you have a member of the public who wants to come to City Hall and address you and your colleagues, at this point, would you advise them to stay away? You think they actually should not come down because they won't be heard or will be able to hear?
No. If we had members of the public who wanted to speak today, for example, we had, I think, 6 or 8 names on the queue. I called them all. I didn't see anyone stand up and raising their hands. But if there were a member of the public that needed to speak, we would need to make sure that they had the opportunity to speak. And I hope that people who are trying to prevent that from happening would allow other members of the public to come to the microphone and speak. And if they don't, then we'll figure out another way to make that happen.
Council President, Kevin De Leon asked for a medical leave and he was denied.
I'm sorry, what?
Kevin De Leon asked for leave of absence.
Oh.
And it was denied. How was it denied, and does that give you an insight on how long he wants to be away?
Well, what was directed to me is all I can speak to. I don't know what else, but he had asked to be for excused absences, and my response was that I cannot provide excused absences because that implies a short-term absence after which he would return, and I couldn't see a scenario by which he can successfully return to the council, and so I denied those.
And what is the difference between not approving that absence and him being absent?
There's really, I suppose, not a practical difference, except when someone is not excused, their absence, they are absent without excuse. Oh yeah, one way or the other. One way or the other. There's literally nothing within the power of the council to modify the receipt of payment an iota.
The city attorney told me that he had somebody here with you to advise people cross the line in that kind of tricky gray area of freedom of speech versus being fully instructed to the overall voice. And he could advise you on whether or not, you have authority to ask for people to do that. Is that not true?
It was a normal meeting. I mean, we always have our representative of the city attorney's office there, but I didn't know about anybody else who was there to. No, I mean, look, this is the nature of democracy. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes people get mad, and you have to try to strike that balance all the time of people who want to speak out and ensuring that we maximize people's ability to actually participate and to hear and see what their government is doing. So it's the nature of the beast. I mean, every legislative body that's ever existed has had to deal with situations like this. So this is nothing that novel. The thing that's unusual about it is the really unfortunate circumstances that have given rise to all this in the first place.
How did it feel to be up there with just that loud noise trying to kind of go about your vote?
It felt really good that the council was back in chambers and doing the work of the people again. And when we were doing the virtual meetings, it's just not the same. And that was in part my fault for having COVID, and I had no real choice. But it felt very good to be back in the council chambers and running a meeting again. Yeah, is it uncomfortable to hear people yelling and hurling profanities and stuff? Sure, but again, that's part of what the democratic process is. As long as we can continue to do our business, that's where I'm going to draw a clear line. People can vent, people can yell. That's okay. People can be rude. That's okay. People can't stop the business of the City Council of Los Angeles. Okay, so we're going to take a moment because we totally forgot that we need to be sworn into our offices. So if you'll forgive me, Mr. Price and I need to be sworn in for that.
Do you want me to do it together or one at a time?
You're the clerk. Whatever is your pleasure.
So, Mr. President, if you will raise your prominent hand and repeat after me. I, Paul Krekorian,
I, Paul Krekorian,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and the Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of President of the Los Angeles City Council
of President of the Los Angeles City Council
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
So duly sworn in, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Holly. All right. All right. Thank you.
Mr. President Pro Tem, if you will raise your prominent hand and repeat after me. I, Kern D. Price,
I, Curran D. Price,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and the Charter of the City of Los Angeles,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of President Pro Tem of the Los Angeles City Council
of President Pro Tem of the Los Angeles City Council
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
And then we'll send some forms over to your office.
Thank you very much, Holly. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.